Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're back in the world of No Rest for the Wicked. We got an interesting one to talk about today. First off, we got confirmation from the developers with some upcoming changes to one of the core systems. Next, we're going to go over some of your comments about the latest patch that brought some awesome changes, but some questionable ones as well. And finally, there's a lot more than meets the eye when it comes to No Rest for the Wicked. We got a lot to talk about in this one, so let's begin. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Fervor Gaming, where you can stay up to date on the latest in gaming. This includes news, builds, and guides just like you see in today's video. If you like the content you see here today and want to help the channel out, drop me a like to get this video out to other gaming fans, but if it wasn't for you, change it to a dislike. So starting off, we got a message from David. He said this: will you be changing the character attribute system? For example, strength increased physical damage from weapons and fist strikes, dexterity increased movement or attack speed, intelligence increased damage from rune attacks, faith reduced the cost of us using rune attacks, etc. Now the co-owner Thomas responded with this: we will, but not in the way that you described there. So it does look like, based off of this tweet, that there will be a change that's coming up when it comes to the attribute system. Now honestly, I think this is actually a really positive thing to see, because in my opinion, a lot of the attributes just aren't very impactful or not very good. Like at the moment, I feel like there's very specific attributes you kind of have to get. 25 in equipment load, get the stat that you need to pretty much equip the weapon and maybe scale the damage a little bit, 5 points into stamina, 5 points in HP, and pretty much that's all you really need. There's not really much thought going into any of the other stats, because the only real requirement is basically for you to get what you need to pick up the weapon and use it, and that's pretty much it. Now I'm not exactly sure what Thomas and the team has in mind, but I don't dislike David's suggestion. I know it's going to be a little bit different, but anything than what we currently have works really well. Next, check out this tweet from Mr. Coral. This is one of the other co-owners for No Rest for the Wicked. So basically, he retweeted one of the messages: after 6 years in the making, No Rest for the Wicked is now out in early access. We all seen this message, but he just retweeted it, I guess. But in response to that, someone said this: I know this probably sounds weird, but in my mind, 6 years in the making seems a bad statement considering how much is available in the game at the moment. But I do like the game a lot and hope for more improvements in content in the future. Now Coral responded with saying this: don't assume that we have shipped everything we have built already. It is going to get fun in the next year. And the reason why I wanted to bring up this statement is a couple of reasons. First off, I see this comment a lot in my comment section where players are like, well, there's not a lot to the game, a lot of the things are not balanced appropriately, which there's definitely an argument for that, where some things need some balance tweaking. I definitely agree with that, but there is a lot to the game that we don't see right now, because I don't know if you guys noticed as you walked around the map, if you explored, you'll notice there's a lot of zones that we actually don't have access to. There's some ladders that don't give us access. There's a lot of those different things within the game that isn't technically able for us to actually go into and do, and that is because they actually already made a lot of the areas. They just haven't sent them out yet. Whether that's because they're trying to tweak it or fix things, I'm not sure what it is. Obviously, I don't work for No Rest for the Wicked or Moon Studios, but at the end of the day, there is a lot to the game. Now, recently after the patch update yesterday, I saw this image. I was actually leveling my 8th character, and I noticed this whenever I was getting my Icar. And as you can see, with that update, there was new images of pretty much the next tier of Ruby, as well as some type of wood. I'm not sure what the different wood type name is, but even with just this patch update, we're already seeing little hints of new things coming to the game. Now, of course, I haven't found a Ruby tier 2 or whatever it's going to be called, but this goes to show that there's a lot to the game that we haven't seen yet. So with a little patience, I imagine we're going to start seeing a vast change over the next year. With that in mind, I did ask you guys to leave me some comments about what you thought about the first patch. Again, I want to be very clear, I love the patch. There was a lot of great things that happened, a lot of fixes, some fixes that were supposed to fix things that didn't necessarily fix them, but a lot of great changes that definitely needs to be shouted out. But there are a few things that I didn't like, the nerfs that kind of happened, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts, so I'm going to be going over a few of them, starting with this one from DS Gaming. Bad balance choice, 100 focus on the potion instead of 200. You can't buy planks no more from vendors or ingots from the smiths. That sucks, bro. And their areas don't have as much resources. That's a bad choice in my eyes. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I agree with this. I don't agree with necessarily the potions being changed. I don't think that really mattered too much, because again, like I said in the video, I think a lot of people who play focus based builds are going to be pretty much building into % increased focus generation, and every time I drink a potion, potion. I actually ended up wasting a lot of the benefits, so I'm actually fine with that potion change. But when it comes to the vendor, I think that was a really bad change. I don't really have a reason for gold right now. I have a grand total of I think like 6 or 7 gold right now, and I have no reason to use it. With the way the crafting system work or the enchanting system work, I can just get a piece of gear. If it doesn't get the stats I want after like enchanting it, I actually in most cases almost break even to the point where I don't really lose any like silver, so it doesn't matter. And in my eyes, having the ability to buy some of these things for upgrades was actually one of the ways that I was actually spending some of my money, which is no longer there. Personally, I would have liked if they just increased the price of this. And I think the biggest reason why this is bad is mainly because one, as I said a second ago, there's really nothing to sink my silver into, and secondly, the resources along the map is like just not great. Right now, when it comes to silver, I have no clue where the ores are. The only reason I even know is because like a creator recently made a video and someone in my comment section kind of pointed out where they were. So it's actually relatively hard to find silver if you don't know exactly where it's at. You got to really go out of your way to get it, and silver is actually fairly required to upgrade your gear. With that said though, there's very well a chance that the next zone that we're supposed to be going into, that I'm very sure is actually in the game because we can see them, have like silver in it, and that's why it's like they want to kind of remove that from the shop. Now personally, I think it's a bad timing to make this change. I would have liked again to just increase the price, or at least come with a disclaimer we're going to remove it once we have more like silver nodes or something like that. Maybe that could work. But for me, I do think it's a bad move because it's just not enough silver on the map to really justify not really having the vendor being able to sell those things. But again, that's just my opinion. Now finally, the last comment has to do with the respec. Again, I kind of maybe overpromised on this one because in my eyes, I felt like respec was like objectively the most important thing for a lot of players. I don't really know why it's not in the game yet. Maybe they are still in like the process of like developing it. Maybe that's the big reason why, but it does look like a lot of players kind of shared my sentiment of like, what the hell is going on? Why is there no respect? And looking at the comments that you see now, so many people are like, no respect. What the hell's going on? Why is there no respect? Between not having the ability to respect as well as not having the vendor anymore that's really selling those resources, this is objectively the most annoying part of the entire patch. I guess you can probably say like the legendary katana not necessarily being fixed is pretty annoying too, because I was kind of looking forward to making a build for that. But overall, I am a little disappointed in these changes because I felt like they could have really like added the respect or maybe prioritized it a little bit more, because a lot of us are really hurting for it. That's just how I feel about it when it comes to the respect situations. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and again, maybe in the next video I'll go over some of your thoughts on this latest patch. Either way, in spite of the few negatives, it does look like patch 1 for No Rest for the Wicked and Move Studios was a massive win, and with all the new information about the upcoming changes, it looks like No Rest for the Wicked is going to have a pretty awesome year ahead of it. Speaking of patch 1, if you haven't checked out the full patch, the video on screen now goes over everything that came with it, and it is a pretty massive patch, so check it out.